You ready? Time is 7:01, and we will call City Council's meeting to order for March 28th, 2016. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Keller?
Here.
Mr. DeGenova?
Here.
Mr. Rohr?
Here.
Mr. Hellinger?
Here.
Vice Mayor Schaefer?
Here.
Mayor Riggle?
Here. Item 2 is invocation. Tonight will be given by Pastor David Soliday from the Delaware Unitarian Universal Fellowship. That's a mouthful. Followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will all please stand with us.
Dear Lord, we're glad to be here this evening in your presence. As we know you are present everywhere, we still pray to you. We pray to you to be present in our spirits and our lives. We know prayers cannot bring water to parched land or mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city, but prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. And we ask you to bless the will of the people that lead us this evening and bless the work of their hands. Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Item 4 on the agenda is approval of the motion summary of the council work session held March 7th, 2016, as recorded and transcribed. What is the wish of council?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Schaefer, a second by Mr. Jones. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. DeGenova?
Yes.
Mr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes. And then we also have the approval of the motion summary of the regular meeting of council held March 14th, as recorded and transcribed.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Schaefer, second by Mr. Jones. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. DeGenova?
Yes.
Mr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes, motion carries. And item 5 is the consent agenda. Elaine, if you'll please read this into the record.
Item A, acceptance of the motion summary for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting held February 16th, 2016. Item B, acceptance of the motion summary for the Historic Preservation Commission meeting held January 27th, 2016. Item C, acceptance of the motion summary for the Shade Tree Commission meeting held February 23rd, 2016.
What is the wish of council on the consent agenda?
Move for the adoption of the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. DeGenova, second by Mr. Hellinger. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. DeGenova?
Yes.
Mr. Rohr?
Yes. Yes.
Vice Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes, motion carries. Item 6 is time set aside for letters, petitions, or public comments for anything that is not on tonight's agenda. If you'd raise your hand if you'd like to come to the microphone. Can you come forward? You're going to sit down in this chair. She can. You may want to do that. Hang on one second, because once Elaine sits down, we're gonna.
Okay.
Thank you.
While you're taking a chance to look at the paperwork, the reason I'm here is my granddaughter wrote a letter to the editor. She was not prompted. She did it totally on her own, worded it all herself.
Hang on one second, before anybody can speak, you have to give your name and address into the record, and Elaine has to
Okay.
write it all down. Sorry.
My name is James Harder, 40 Vernon Avenue, Delaware, Ohio.
Okay, and I need hers also.
Molly Hobbs,
What's your address?
45 Vernon Avenue.
Thank you. Did you get that? I didn't get the street, I'm sorry.
Vernon.
45 Vernon.
Okay.
The letter she wrote, as you can read there, is bought some houses on Central Avenue. I think the city's already bought them up, but haven't been torn down. And she's concerned about the neighborhood looking disgraceful. So she wrote this letter. Her and her grandmother took it to the Gazette. They said they would put it in there. To B's letter, it wasn't in there, so we went up to ask why. The editor come out very rudely, I might say, and said the letter was not adult enough to put in the paper. I don't understand what adult enough means. So
Molly, do you want to read us your letter?
Sure. Dear editor, I'm a student at James Conger Elementary. On the same street as my school, there are 3 different homes that are disgusting. I believe that you need to take them down. I believe this because these homes are so disgusting, they make my community look terrible. If this is/was your home, wouldn't you feel terrible that your home had vines that made your community look bad? My second reason is that you need to take down these dangerous homes because people say ghosts live in them and come out at night. Do you think that is true? I think there are ghosts in them, but I doubt that they come out at night. The last reason I have is that these particular homes are located by a school called James Conger Elementary, so they make my school look terrible. Don't you feel bad now? These 3 homes look like gardens that never get groomed. I believe these homes need to be taken down. If you feel the community needs to take down these homes, please write back. P.S. The homes' addresses are 256, 258, and 273 East Central Avenue.
Thank you, and I think that was a very good letter written. And we did purchase, the city did purchase those homes.
2 of them.
2 of them. I wasn't on yet.
Yeah, just the 2.
Yes,
I'm not even sure the address. I know we bought 2 in that area. I'm not good with addresses.
okay.
They're across the street from each other. One is on one corner, one's on the other.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
And they are planning on tearing these houses down. You know when?
In the next month or so, the building official is working with local contractors and getting pricing. And once they've gotten the pricing, we've gone out to bid, then they will be taken down. And we'll probably plant grass there for now. Eventually, the property will be used to straighten out the intersection.
Wonder what about the 3rd address we can look into.
Yeah, I'll find out. I think I know the one you're,
5, 8 or 1 house, I think.
Are they?
right, but there is one right next to the one we purchased, which is in poor condition as well. But we were concentrating on these 2 initially, so, but we'll follow up.
South side of the street has no address.
Okay.
So
Well, thank you.
we did buy all 3 of them, and they're just 2 different structures.
We're not sure.
We're going to check it.
Are you saying you know that, or?
Well, if the one had 2 addresses, then we may have bought both of them.
We bought 2 structures, 2 homes, and I didn't realize that it was combined. If that's the case, then.
But thank you very much for bringing this to our attention, and you can be assured that they will be taken down, 2 of them anyways, okay? Thank you. Do you have anything else you wanted to add? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Holly.
Good job.
Okay, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come forward at this time? Please raise your hand.
It's not on the agenda.
Well, I understand that there might be a petition that can be brought forward. I have it, okay, so then they don't need to speak on it.
It's actually on the agenda. Been presented.
Well, you have it here.
Talk about A,
Okay.
6A. I mean,
Yes,
it's
we
on
have
the
it.
agenda, but it's on, yeah.
Yeah, it is, we all have it in our computers. Okay, item 7 is,
Are you referring to the petition that's on the paper?
yes, but some circus is on later on in this.
Well,
I have the agenda, don't see it.
Perhaps,
Send it to me, so.
Darren, you could clarify.
It's number 10.
well, we have 2
Oh, I
things.
see.
You have a,
10 is the circus one for the county and the city.
there's,
Thank you for clarifying.
Do you have something that's not on the agenda?
Well, like 6A is what we wanted to see.
yeah, it's on the agenda, but it's also, that's on the agenda, but it's under the letters, petitions, and
Okay,
public comments.
6A, you can come forward then, I guess, on the petition.
Is there anybody besides 6A? Otherwise, we'll,
Okay, if you're speaking on 6A, you can come forward to the microphone.
Karen just to clarify, you can't take action on that tonight.
So, well, I'll let them go first, and I'll tell you kind of procedurally how it works.
And then before you speak, I do need your name and address, please. You can move that microphone up if you need to.
My name is Shelley Emmons. Address is 277 Pinecrest Drive.
Are you going to speak also?
Yes.
Okay,
Sure. Julie McDonough, 614 Boulder Drive.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for allowing us to speak here today. As I said, my name is Shelley. I am a concerned resident of the city of Delaware, and I'm asking you to please consider denying Circus Pages a permit to bring their traveling circus to our city. Circus Pages has failed to meet the minimal federal standards for the care of animals used in exhibition as established in the Animal Welfare Act, or AWA. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has cited Circus Pages for failing to have records of veterinary care and failing to provide animals with sufficient space and appropriate food. Circus Pages travels with several animals, including 2 African elephants named Bambi and Daisy. Both elephants were captured in the wild in 1974. Circus Pages has a 2-page rap sheet that spans many, many years. I have copies of those that I can leave for all of you so that you will have it for future reference. These are only the infractions that have been recorded when they are able to be found. Circus Pages travels from city to city with no announcement of a schedule, so it's difficult to keep up with them and to check on the welfare of their animals. In Delaware last year, Julie and I personally witnessed one of the handlers beating a mini horse prior to the show. She hit the horse repeatedly with a whip, slammed him or her into the side of the trailer several times, and kneed her in the side repeatedly until we asked them to stop. Their dogs were in cramped cages all day with no food and no water. This included a young puppy who was so lethargic he would barely lift his head. He appeared to be sedated, in our personal opinion. In addition, the elephants were exhibiting classic signs of stress, shown by swaying of back and forth in their enclosure. There is a growing public concern about the treatment of wild and exotic animals abused in traveling circuses, as evidenced by thousands of letters generated to the USDA, Congress, and to the President of the United States. Americans are becoming increasingly more aware that circus animals suffer from violent training techniques and severe confinement, which are unavoidable due to the constraints of constant travel on the road. This growing concern is further evidenced by other circuses removing their performing animals from their circus due to public pressure. This includes Ringling Brothers ending their elephant acts. In fact, they will be ending that this May, a full year and a half ahead of schedule. Cole Brothers is going entirely animal-free. Garden Bros are going elephant-free by 2017, and a Shrine Circus animal provider has gone out of business. Traveling circuses cannot meet the psychological or behavioral needs of wild animals due to severe confinement, physical and social deprivation, long periods of time in transporters with brutal control methods, and physical violence. Enforcement of animal welfare legislation and local ordinances is fraught with difficulties due to the transient nature of traveling circuses. By the time the evidence is gathered and prepared, the circus has often moved on. The practical difficulties of compliance, inspections, and associated time and cost justifies a restriction. Circuses must change with the times. Human-only circuses are thriving. Cirque du Soleil now has 19 shows in 271 cities, generating an estimated $810 million a year. Whereas the wild animal traveling show, Piccadilly Circus, recently canceled performances across Southern California due to poor ticket sales. They are just one example of the multiple circuses which have had to cancel due to poor ticket sales or improper paperwork to put on their shows. Circus Pages itself has had to cancel in several cities, including an event recently scheduled for March 21st in Jasper, Indiana, for failure to acquire a permit to perform. Circus Pages got its start in 1960. They know they have to acquire permits before they perform. They simply choose to ignore it and hope they can get away without paying a fee and losing what little income they are making. It is my understanding that they did not acquire a permit last year, and they went ahead and put on their show anyways. In the Gazette this morning, it was mentioned that Circus Pages did not know that they needed to have a permit. So does this mean they have never applied for a permit before in our city or paid a fee in the past? I'm curious. I do understand that under Delaware Codified Ordinance 111.01E5, action shall not be taken at the first meeting on a petition or a letter which is presented from the floor unless council determines that an emergency exists. Keeping stressed, large, dangerous wild animals close to the public and lightweight temporary enclosures has proven disastrous in the past. Workers and members of the public have been killed and maimed. Lions, tigers, and elephants have escaped. It is my belief that this is an emergency. The welfare of the public is at risk. In addition, it is estimated that around 12% of Asian and 2% of African elephants in North America have tuberculosis, a disease that is transmissible from elephants to humans. Circus Pages offers elephant rides, which puts the health of our children at risk. If an elephant bolts or a lion or tiger escapes, people can be killed. This, in my opinion, definitely constitutes an emergency. In the United States, there are currently 46 partial or full bans on circus animals in municipalities across 21 states. I ask that the city of Delaware step up and become a shining example of a compassionate community. We should teach our children that wild animals are to be respected, not to be beaten, dressed up in silly outfits, or paraded around for our amusement. Please cancel this circus and their request for a permit. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Do we have a few more minutes? Okay. And I had brought, there are a Word document, but it's my understanding I'm not sure who was up to that.
They brought pictures if you want to see pictures.
Yeah, or you can keep the files if you'd like, but some of the photos are of, I wanted to follow up with Shelley a bit on the training that circus animals go through. Some are pictures taken from Ringling Brothers, but the 2 elephants at Circus Pages were purchased from Ringling, so those are common training methods, some of those photographs. Other photographs are what Shelley and I took last year at the May 2015 show of Circus Pages here in Delaware, including 2 of those dogs that we mentioned. And these were dogs, by the way, who were going to perform. They have some of the circus folks have their own dogs, near their trailer with food and water, but these performing animals is what we were referring to. So I just wanted to follow up a little bit on the training that circus animals do not willingly stand on their heads, jump through rings of fire, or ride bicycles. They don't perform these tricks because they want to, and they do not do any of these meaningless acts in their natural habitat, as we all know. The only reason that they perform is because they are scared of what will happen to them if they don't. The circus would like you to think that intelligent creatures perform because they're positively reinforced with food and praise. There's no such thing as positive reinforcement for circus animals. Only varying levels of punishment, neglect, and deprivation. These animals have limited access to food and water as to will them to perform, and even to prevent untimely defecation or urination while in the circus ring, because to avoid the public seeing that in the ring. This was an investigator undercover at Carson Barnes Circus, who is, my understanding, planning to be here in Delaware in July. They come every year here as well to our fairgrounds. Extreme animal abuse was documented and reported to the USDA of animals being beaten with baseball bats, pitchforks, and other objects, including electric prods. The bull hook is a very common tool used, especially on the elephants. There's a photo of that, or it's you can Google that. It's just a tool with a metal hook. Animals are, training practices generally are hidden from the public view to make the audiences believe that the animals want to and are willing to perform. Because they have been conditioned through violent training sessions, they know that refusal to obey in the ring will result in severe punishment later. Moments just before entering the ring, just outside of public view, Trainers may give the elephants a painful whack or blows to them, reminding them who's in control, and ensure that the elephants perform the specific tricks on command, much like Shelley and I witnessed last year. I'm skipping a bit because there's young kids. I don't want to get any more graphic than I think I already have, but the bull hook itself is used on very sensitive parts of the elephant skin. We might all think, oh, they have really thick skin, but they have very sensitive areas behind their ears, behind their legs that you'll see them being guided with the tool. But the training is much different than just guiding with. Circuses easily get away with these cruel practices because government agencies don't monitor their training sessions. I'm asking, like Shelley, that you deny Circus Pages their permit at work to ban all animal acts and circuses from coming to Delaware in the future. And if I may just read one, I just Googled the city where Circus Pages comes from. It's Mayaca City, Florida. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. With just a review page of people that had attended their shows. And there were positive and negatives. One negative was, paraphrasing, I'm going to skip parts of what she said, but most of all, she said not entertaining because the animals, lions, tigers, and horses were whipped constantly. The lions would swat at the tamer because she hit them so often. They have a small dog act, and whenever one of the dogs would mess up, they would look at the tamer, the ringmaster, and cower. And when he got close, they would back away from him as if they were scared. The elephants were poked with what looked like a fireplace poker, which is what a bull hook is. It does look very much like that, and looked so sad. This woman said, I feel ashamed that I gave them my money so that they can continue to hurt animals. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we proceed, it might be helpful to kind of go through some procedure things because there's kind of good news and, well, not good news and bad news, but you are correct. You cannot act on the petition today. The purpose of that is we can have a discussion, and if we can come up with some ideas on changing the ordinance that permits circuses, we can do that and bring it back, and then we'll have a chance to debate that and go forward. However, that does not mean you're going to have to rule on the other item on the agenda, which is the circus permit. So you can vote on that today, and I would actually invite the petitioners to stick around for that because it's a separate legislative issue. I will point out from basically what you heard, the reasons you can deny, if you were inclined to do so, down on the agenda to give you a preview is, it should be granted unless it affirmatively appears that any such proposed circus, carnival, or menagerie shall in any way endanger or threaten the public peace, property, health, safety, or welfare of the city. So those are the factors that you can take into effect or take into account when considering whether to deny that permit down the road, which is why I would invite the petitioners to stick around and maybe provide some testimony on that line item as you make your decision. But now that we have the petition, I think it was included in your packet, it probably would be helpful to have a discussion on the ordinance looking forward, stepping aside the instant resolution we have, to give me maybe some ideas on what you might like to see or do, and I can come back with legislation if you're inclined to do so. Or we can schedule another meeting, but if you give me some guidance, I can graph some stuff up for you. And I kind of took some notes on some things some ideas you might want to consider if you were inclined to do so, if you're interested in hearing them.
If I might add, as we had mentioned, we've heard through the grapevine that Carson Barnes was coming. Don't know for sure exactly who the organization is who has invited them back this year. The Lions Club used to host them, and I was able to talk to them and ask them not to invite them back after a lot of things that I photographed and witnessed. I would, if we're looking at something as far as legislation or whatever you called it, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I would really like to be part of that going forward. Carson Barnes is worse than Circus Pages, unfortunately. So that being said, I'll leave it there.
If I may add one thing about the safety, some of the photographs I've provided that Shelley and I have taken would speak to that safety issue as well. Because, some pictures you've seen are an elephant chained. That's often outside of the actual show. These are freestanding, enormous animals, obviously, with a very small, tall, it's not a fence, I don't know. I mean, you can see it in the picture, kind of ropes, and it's clear that it would be a very simple task for something to escape. And the lions, tigers, typically you see them in a wire cage on wheels, but the elephants, the way they are
kept before they go into the ring is very frightening when you think about them escaping. And obviously, it's a very distressed animal, so it's not an animal that's going to escape and get safely, returned to its enclosure. So some of the safety is somewhat can be seen in the photographs. So when you mention the safety to the city and to the community, and the liability of something happening, and the city being responsible, for a tragedy to happen is part of it, a concern for me too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would you like me to give these to?
You can give them to the clerk. I'm going to let the fair speak now, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do next.
Cool.
Just changing the rules a little bit tonight.
Thank you.
Carol, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, do you want to do this now, or do you want to do this when we're actually considering the permit? Because right now we're
I
just talking
think
about
they
that.
need to speak now because the others just spoke.
That's
And
fine.
you're working on other stuff over there, and then we can kind of.
Yeah.
Let's just put it up right now. Name and address for the record, please.
Bill Lowe, 180 Euclid Avenue.
Henry Thompson, 42 Yorkshire Road, Delaware.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening. We have had circus pages at the fairgrounds. This will be the 6th consecutive year. My employees at the fairgrounds have worked with them in helping them set up and get. They have not seen any neglect or abuse of those animals in the time that they've been there. I have not seen any abuse of those animals. They've always paid their bills on time. They've been very responsible renters. They're at the Allen County Fairgrounds in Lima tonight. They're in Marysville tomorrow night, and they will be here on Wednesday. Carson Barnes, by the way, last time was at the fairgrounds was in the summer of 2014. There was a tent circus then. We have not heard from Carson Barnes since then. If there's a rumor about them coming to Delaware, the fairgrounds doesn't know anything about it. Basically, that's all I can say. I mean, it's been a very good evening of entertainment for folks who like to go to circuses. That's my experience with them.
I was just going to say one thing, that right, wrong, or indifferent. I've been to this circus. I've not seen any of the cruelty, the malnutrition to animals like have been testified. Doesn't mean they don't exist. I mean, anything's possible. And I really don't have a concrete feeling one way or the other. But I do want to say that, if there is a community push, I think it shouldn't be an 11th hour. That's just my thing. I mean, I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I don't want to go down that because some people are very passionate about this, but I honestly think that for the city to be able to hear all sides and to make this happen in a prudent manner, I don't think it's an emergency. Again, that's just my opinion. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just got one question, Mayor. Did they have a permit last year?
What?
No, they didn't come through the city last year. No, we heard about it after the fact, and
Did we get one? Did we get one this year?
yeah,
Is
that's what
there-
they've recently, they just submitted that late today, yes.
So there is a permit in place
No.
for
They-
Wednesday's circus?
No,
They
council has to
requested-
act tonight,
Okay.
depending on how council acts. If council acts in
Okay.
the affirmative and grants it, then they'll get the permit. If they don't, then they won't get the permit.
I'm confused though. When I spoke with you earlier, Tom, I thought you said that there was a different circus here last year, but
We
someone
had-
just said that it was the same. Was it Circus Pages?
My understanding is that Circus Pages was here in April or this time frame last year.
Yeah, I think it was April 2nd.
So how could they possibly not have known they needed to get a permit? Because I remember voting on a permit, not last year.
No, you
but
voted
maybe-
on
14 Carson
Carson.
Barnes,
The other one, yeah.
I think
for the one that's in the summer,
This
So
is
Circus
the,
Pages has never gotten a permit?
not to my knowledge.
my recollection of the timeline is we found out after the fact that they were here last year, and we notified them that if they came back, they needed to get a permit.
So I don't see how this is 11th hour on our part, when if they had submitted for a permit, it's kind of 11th hour, it seems to me, on Circus's part. Because this is the first I'm hearing about this. And it's happening in 2 days?
It just came up last week.
Right, it's not like it's been going on for 7 months.
Well, they didn't plan on coming any sooner than just a couple days ago?
When did we get the deposit? To give you full disclosure, they rent the Coliseum for around $2,000. And they give us a deposit, how much is the deposit?
500. They paid the deposit in December.
So they knew in December.
Well, I don't know if they knew or they didn't know. We don't have anything to
Yeah,
do
I-
with the permit. The permit is
I
done
didn't
with the
sign a
city.
permit.
No, she's saying that.
But they were
If
notified
they
last
deposited in
year.
December, they knew they were coming to town, so why they wait
Yeah.
until 2 hours ago to file for?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's because we asked for it, because we noticed,
Right, exactly. So it's not left out on our part, it's left
Right.
out on their part.
Just again, to talk about procedurally, I know there's that clause in there about petitions and emergency. We're not going to be doing anything on an emergency basis with that petition because we may have some discussion as how you want me to come back and amend the code section. But that's not going to be an emergency measure that we're going to do. However, you do have an item on your agenda this evening, a resolution permitting it. That's not an emergency or not emergency. That's just, you've got to decide if you want to vote on that or not. That's where the action is going to take place tonight.
Is it item number 10?
How many years have they been coming?
This is the
This
sixth
is
year in a
the
row.
sixth year.
Have they ever had a permit?
That was my question.
No.
So
No.
we know for a fact that we told them last year they had to get a permit?
Followed up the phone call, we notified the Fair Board, yes, fair.
I have a question for Mr. Schulman. Is this always a legislative process, or is this typically,
So you mean like around the world or
yeah,
here?
this permit process?
No,
It seems like it would be an executive process, like they come in and file for a permit.
it's just the way our code is written. I don't know how other cities do it. I can tell you that our code was written in 1970, and I don't think it's been amended since. So there's a lot of changes that I would recommend regardless of which way you feel about circuses. And that's something we can think about, and I would probably want to get input from other people in council. But I could also do research as other places do it. But in our code in the 70s, council passes a resolution authorizing them to come, and then they get a license from the city manager's office after proving they have the insurance and bonding and paying the fee.
So they've done all that.
I think we got the rest of the stuff
Yeah, they did.
today.
Yeah.
As of late today.
Yeah, and it's been pointed out, it was last minute. I mean, we didn't know, it came to our attention late last week that this was happening in part because of the petition. And we indicated that council met Monday night. Darren and I were on the phone with the woman from Circus Pages on Thursday, and they said they wanted council to consider it. And that's what's before you tonight.
prior to that, they hadn't initiated anything
Correct.
on their own.
Not for us. I think they were assuming it was going through the fair, through the Fair Board.
We just run the facility.
No, I understand that, but I think that's, I understand
I don't
that.
have anything against anybody here. The
Well,
Tigers, lions, and bears.
Ignorance of the law.
I think the whole thing here is that, and maybe you misunderstood me, but this is the first time the public has heard this.
It's not though, because I can remember,
You just said you hadn't heard about this.
no, I remember from a couple years ago, issues being raised about a circus. So I know that we've discussed it.
On other,
On the other
Carson
circuit.
Bars.
This, this today.
Okay.
What we're before us today, this is the first we've heard of this. Is correct. You didn't talk about this a month ago, did you?
No,
No, we didn't. We
Okay.
did not know they were coming until
I
last week.
mean, that's all I'm saying.
okay.
That's true.
So the fair has signed a lease,
Huh?
the fair has signed a lease with these folks?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So you're gonna
Jeff, hang
you're gonna
on.
be in breach of contract then, if
I'm sorry?
you're gonna be in breach of contract if the permit's not?
What does your contract say, providing that you have permits?
I don't have the contract with me.
Says the mayor.
It says what?
The mayor's liable. No, it probably would mean we owe them $500.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure we'd owe them their deposit back. I don't know if there's any cause for other damages. That would be a legal issue. I mean,
Okay, any other questions
It
for?
isn't gonna come back on us, is it?
No.
It shouldn't come back. We don't have a contractual relationship with them. Now, I will tell you, in theory, if you took an action that was not based on a rational basis, on facts, using the factors that are permitted in the statute, then they could sue us or try to get an injunction, and I couldn't tell if we'd win or lose. Don't know if it'd be worth it for the 500 and the 2,000, but that would be a recourse, because council just can't act, for no reason. So if you don't have basis for what you're doing, that they potentially could.
See, that makes no sense to me. If council has no basis to act, why is it something go back to council? Why is it in front of us to vote on anything?
Well, you do have a
If I
basis.
can't- What do you mean?
The basis that you're allowed to vote on is either that the endangers or threatens the public peace, property, health, safety, or welfare of the city. So those are the factors that you're allowed to say, I think it. You can't say, I don't like clowns.
Can you give me reference? I don't.
That can't be a reason.
But can you give me reference to what examples of those? I mean, I'm sure there's different examples of what each of those means. Again,
yeah, I mean, it's
because I think it's crazy that, this is brought to us at the 11th hour, and we're supposed to make this decision, and then we're not getting, having time to debate or talk about what does it mean to, to harm the public, welfare, whatever it may, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think there's an easy answer I can give you, but I can tell you that when you debate and give your reasons, if you were to say, I think an elephant being chained could run up, that's a potential health, safety, and welfare.
Question number two is there anything in our process or code that if a permit is not filed in a certain amount of hours before the event, is there a reason for denial, or is there
We don't have that in this section right now, which was actually one of the suggestions I had for fixing it going forward, which is you need to have it in X number of days before the event, and it could be as much as 30 or whatever you think. That would give us time to, I mean, this wouldn't be a time-sensitive issue if we had gotten the materials in a timely manner, so.
Well, I got a message from someone who's watching from home, and it's from the administrative assistant, and she said that the circus has operated for 6 years without ever getting a permit.
We know that.
And last year, she emailed Bill Lowe telling him what the process was. So this is kind of adding up to me. That's what it says. Michelle Kohler said that she sent an email to Bill Lowe last year telling him the process.
Is she here?
No.
No, she's watching from home right now.
I never got an email regarding a permit for the circus. The first time I ever heard that the circus had to have a permit was when I talked to Tom Homan last Thursday.
The right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, he said, she said. I mean, we're in a conundrum here. And I'm sorry that this is before you. Yeah, I don't think Bill did anything wrong, and he isn't out there trying to steal or lie or say something that's not accurate. I mean, so Michelle not being here is not admissible, in my opinion. So.
Well, I think in order to go forward, these need to be changed. We will discuss that at a later date, not tonight, as far as that goes. They have a predicament. My question is, did the city inspector go out? Do they meet all the requirements of the
Yes.
permit? So they've done everything as of right now at the late hour. And I guess there might probably a fee as far as the permit goes.
No, they paid.
They paid that.
$150, yeah.
So I think, it's
I mean,
as far as this week's situation, I think that some of you don't want a circus, some of us do want circuses. I don't really care whether we have a circus or not. I probably will go to it, but I think all children like circuses, and I think when news media put it out that there was a petition and there's so many thousand, half of those, 90% of those people don't even live in the city of Delaware or the state. It's an ongoing thing as to are we going to have circuses, are we not? Are they mistreating animals, are they not? But I think at this late hour, and it's going to be Wednesday, I think that, when we come to item 10, we'll decide, there's only going to be 6 of us voting because Carolyn can't vote. She's on the board. So we'll let it go at that.
Yeah.
And I
think we had enough discussion.
I would just stick around for item 10, because that's going to be the actual item.
You can come forward as long as it's short.
I will be very short.
Okay. Okay, you guys are done.
What? We're done.
Oh. And as long as it hasn't already been
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, I'm just going to be really, really short and really fast. Beth Keener and 33 Montrose Avenue. And I just wanted to speak to some of the topics that were just brought up about why this is 11th hour. It wasn't announced to the public until the 11th hour, until late last week. And that's when I started the petition, because I was seeing everybody posting about free tickets and not knowing about this and not knowing what happens to animals. And I'm not going to repeat all of what happens, but I decided to put, action to it because it bothered me so much. And that's where this came from. And I have never done a petition before. So I went to a website that did free petitions, and they happened to put it worldwide. If I knew more people, I'd go knock on the door. But the people it did reach, there were a lot of Delaware residents. And that's what brought attention to this. And I just wanted to share that it was not for lack of wanting to plan longer. It was, we didn't have notice. It all happened really quick.
Okay.
So that's all.
Thank you.
Moving on.
All right, yes, Darren, you look like you want to say something else.
I don't have to.
All right, come on, short.
Well, do you want us just for direction, because we got a petition, we can't really act tonight. What would you like to see happening in the future? Do you want to set a discussion item? Do you want to I need to know direction what you want me to do next.
I think the ordinance needs updated, if I might state.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the petition process.
Well, the petition process ordinance is fine. It's what are we going to do with the petition? Are we going to change our circus permit ordinance for the future?
Yeah, I think that needs to be updated.
I mean,
I have some ideas, but I can just talk about it later if you want, if we're in a hurry. But I think
Later.
I
Later
think
it
we
is.
can come back with some suggested changes to update it. It's obvious that the ordinance we have was written at a time when there wasn't as much concern and attention on this. There is now, and we need to respond to it accordingly.
I will work something.
You have a couple?
Yeah, but I'll do it. I'll
Have
just
an
write it up.
audience
I'll write it
about
up.
circus, so let's.
Well, the ideas I had, if you're assuming you're not just going to ban circuses altogether, was one, I think we can look at the cost of doing it, because it was $10 forever. We just raised it to $150, but obviously more cost covers some of our expenses and also keeps people be responsible if they can pay the cost. Second, I think we need to raise the insurance amounts, because all of our other insurance amounts are higher and that just is really low. Third, we could potentially add, and I would probably need help from the petitioners on how to do this, but add something as a fact for denying a circus permit based on mistreatment of animals, because that's not really in there right now. So we could add that as a criteria that council could use going forward. And fourth, I think we really need to look at requiring that permit to be submitted X number of days. I would suggest 30 before they come, to give us time to do the investigations like they mentioned, to get comfortable with it, to pass it. Because I don't know whose fault it is, but this puts you in a really bad position tonight to have to vote 2 days before a circus is coming to town. So those are things I think I can do fairly easily that would make it better, if that's something that council would like to see me at least kind of try to tackle.
I think those are all perfect.
Darren, the one thing I would say is in regard to the safe, humane treatment of animals, I think we are going to have some standard in there, what that means.
That's why I probably would.
How they would demonstrate.
I would definitely ask the petitioners to get with me so I could, because they listed some citations and some bodies and things, and I would need some help with that because I'm just not as familiar with it, because I'd agree that we would want some standard. So if they could maybe give me a card, or I can give them my card after the meeting.
In
We can work
fairness
on
to
that.
the companies that operate the circuses, they should be allowed to have input, that they have some input that shows that they do treat their animals properly. I mean, I think we need to hear from both sides and make an informed decision.
Yeah, and I think the ordinance would, if we have enough time, they could come and present and, do the same thing, and you'd have to make findings, but it'd just be a better, more rational process, so.
Okay,
Sorry, thanks for indulging me, Memory.
all right.
Can I ask one more? When was this added to our agenda? This was,
You're talking about the agenda or the license?
Thursday.
The petition or the,
When we met on Monday or Tuesday, this was not on the agenda. Tom called me Thursday and said we need to add a couple more things to the agenda, and this got added.
because of the petition.
the
Not just
peti-
because of the
Because of the
petition,
permit.
because we realized that they hadn't gotten a permit.
Permit.
They had an event scheduled for Wednesday. We spoke with the petitioner and we indicated that we would council would consider it on
Because
Monday.
when this paperwork says that as of the printing of this, we still don't have,
That was when I sent that
Friday.
over today.
but how often do we put something on our agenda for consideration when we don't even have the paperwork from the person submitting the request? Like, we added this to an agenda without a request from the petitioner?
There was some work that needed to be done at the fairgrounds, so that had to be done. Jerry Warner was sick last week, so I got him out there on Friday. they didn't actually apply for the application for the permit unless they knew that they could meet the regulations at the fairgrounds. So it was just all a timing thing. No, we don't normally do this.
And just to clarify, Councilman Keller, we're still technically on the petition, and the petition was a different,
I know.
that group. And so you're talking about item 10, which is the license permit. They both were brought in later in the game, but I think the petition came first, and then the license came second, both after the normal time we would do it, I think.
What time did we get the paperwork today?
4:40 or 4:40, whenever I sent the email to council. It was late. There's no doubt that this is not handled properly. This is not.
Pardon?
This is the tail wagging the dog
Yes.
here. The petition came in and then they applied for the permit.
Okay, are we done with the petition? Item 7, committee reports. Mr. Jones.
None, ma'am.
Mrs. Keller.
None.
None.
Mr. DeGenova.
None.
Mr. Rohr.
Parks and Rec met. We are doing the committee thing. Every other month, we're gonna have committee meetings, and then every other month, we're gonna have a full committee meeting. We're gonna have the Parks and the Rec subcommittees. I'm sorry, I said committee, I meant subcommittees.
Sure.
And then HPC met and approved frontal rehabs for 4 and 6 North Sandusky Street.
Good.
So the Bear Bowl and the Green Door Salon are going to be facelifted.
Very good. And the Parks and Rec committee's good with separate them out like that?
Yes, they were fine with it. And,
Which one are you going to serve on?
I told them I would serve on either if the need
Okay.
would be, and I think Parks is where the need's going to be if I'm sensing.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Hellinger?
Shade Tree met, and they're going to have, hopefully, they're going to coordinate their Arbor Day activities along with the Healthy Kids Day on April 30th out at the Y. So we're hoping to plant a tree then. And they will also have a booth then at First Fridays in May and hand out seedlings, similar to what they did last year.
Good. Mr. Schaefer?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Item 8 is consideration of a liquor permit stockholder change. Wayne, you want to read it?
Item A, Authentic Foods LLC, doing business as Corner Cafe and Restaurant, 535 Sunbury Road and Patio, Delaware, Ohio, 43015, permit classes D1, D2, and D3.
Thank you. Chief Pajanowski.
Madam Mayor, members of council, for consideration is a liquor permit request. This is for the Corner Cafe. The request is for a change in their membership status. The owner passed away and the family is assuming the ownership status. No change in business plans, no issues with any owners, and no legislative basis for requesting an objection.
What is the wish of council?
Move to accept the liquor permit change with objection.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Schaefer, a second by Mr. DeGenova. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. DeGenova?
Yes.
Mr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Yes, motion carries. Item is consideration of ordinance number 16-25. Will the clerk please read this in the record?
Ordinance number 16-25, an ordinance supplementing the 2016 appropriations ordinance to provide funding for concept drawings and construction estimates for 3 city facilities and declaring an emergency. Emergency clause. This ordinance is declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, property, health, safety, and welfare of the city, and for the further reason that this ordinance is required to be immediately effective in order to have the information ready for the 2017 Capital Improvement Program and grant opportunities. The ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its passage.
Mrs. Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. Before you is a supplemental request for $25,000 in order to execute a contract with Triad Design Firm. We are asking them to do construction concept drawings and construction estimates for 18 and 20 East William, and then the second floor of City Hall in order to accommodate the moving of staff possibly to the former Gazette Building, 20. East Williams. So Triad's ready to go. We have interviewed them. We went through a lengthy process. We believe they are the right team for this project. And the reason we needed a special team is because we're looking for to incorporate an entrepreneurial center into 20 East William, and we want to make sure we do that right with resources that we have. The reason that we had asked for the emergency clause is because there are grant opportunities out there, and the sooner you can have conceptual drawings, the better opportunity you have of being successful in receiving grants. And as well as I would like to have this information to Tom as well as council for the CIP, and they need at least 90 days to do this project.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mrs. Wong?
I think George had requested, and I'd mentioned to council members to take this to another reading, and that's okay with us.
Okay. Item 10 on the agenda is the consideration of resolution number 16-14. The clerk will please read this into the record.
Resolution number 16-14, a resolution granting permission for Circus Pages to operate a circus in March within the city of Delaware.
Okay. Have we heard enough, or do we want to discuss this some more?
I just have one question, I guess it would be Darren. The other circus that comes to town, have they routinely applied for permits and have those been approved by the council?
I don't know. I use it routinely because I haven't been here for that many years, but we did do one for the Carson Circus.
Carson Barnes was 2014. That was the last council action that was taken on it. I'd have to go back and have Michelle pull the records for that particular circus to find out. But
Well, I guess what I find so unusual is, as I'm looking at the documentation that we got in our council packet, the resolution says that they've met all the requirements, but at the time this was written, we hadn't even received anything from them. And to know that at 4:30 today, we were notified that, okay, yes, they have everything. And between 4:30 today and now, just a couple hours later, I'm being asked to make a decision when people are bringing forward that there's safety concerns with wild animals and elephants and lions, and I don't even have time to Google their safety record or if there's been incidents in the past. I have no time to even think or look into it. And I don't appreciate being, and I know that it's not the city's fault, but I feel like as a person saying yes or no, I deserve time to do more due diligence than I'm being given. I've been sitting here Googling, and that is not the way I want to make a decision.
and I don't think that's unreasonable.
So if this had come in 30 days ago and we had time to ask some questions or look into, what if they had an incident a week ago? I wouldn't even know. So that's how I feel about it.
Just to be clear, when Tom and I talked to the circus, we kind of said, look, we can do our best to put it on the agenda. We don't know what council's going to do, and they're probably not going to be super pleased that it's coming up at the last minute. We kind of told them that, but they said they wanted to try. They were going to try whatever they could to make it happen. And if we told them, oh, they're going to call each one of you anyway and press their case. So I said, all right.
I mean, to me, this has nothing to do with whether or not you like the circus. I wouldn't take my kids to see a circus, and I feel like that's people's individual choices of what they want to show their kids. And I think that what they do to the animals is not something that I want to, pay to be entertained with. That's set aside from this. We could be talking about something completely different. My concern is just 4:30 today, we received paperwork. We have citizens bringing forward a concern. I don't have time.
Right.
The safety thing is new, and I don't have time to say whether I think that's legitimate or not, or if this company has a record of any safety issues, or if anyone's been injured in their shows. And so I'm going to say yes at the 11th hour to bringing lions to our fairgrounds. And then what if this is a safety issue? And what if we have a lion loose in the city of Delaware? It's not a responsible way to make a decision.
I hear you.
If I can expand on Mrs. Keller, again, this is just Chris Jones's opinion. It doesn't represent the city of Delaware by any means, but if you go to this company's website, we've been Googling, it's been 25 years they've been doing this, and I find it hard to believe that they don't know that you have to file for a permit when you go to a city to put on a circus. I personally think it's it's a way of hiding their, maybe their past records, when folks like this, we get petitions, so it's easier to come in under the radar and have your, again, my opinion only.
Right.
So I think it's their mode of operation that they do this. With that being said, it's presented to me, that I do have a vote tonight that to deny the permits based on public peace, property, health, safety, and welfare. Since this is brought in at the 11th hour, 12th hour, whatever the term is, we haven't had a chance of doing due diligence on it, so I have to go with my own personal opinion on what does Chris Jones think is a detriment to the public peace, property, health, safety, and welfare of the city. Is the only thing I can go off of is this is presented to me to vote, and I personally think there's an opportunity for a wild animal to get loose in the city, so that gives me reason to say that there's a safety issue to the city, so I would be in the right to vote in the negative on this.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but you may not have had a lot of information on the website. You did hear some testimony from people with the petition. That's up to you to decide if that's credible or not, but they did raise some potential health and safety, welfare concerns.
Welfare, and so if that's how I'm presented, that's how I have to make my decision.
But I think we certainly need to change the rule that says it needs to come within a certain amount of time so that we're not put.
Yeah, I
in this
looked at some
position
other
again.
cities, and everybody's like 12, 14, 28 days before any sort of special permit. So
And if it was anybody else, not a circus, we would be saying, well, no way. I mean, imagine if this was Jeff's Jam coming in 2 days before their event.
Can we deny it, Mr. Schulman, based on being untimely?
Or why couldn't council table it? I mean, why, if council feels that they don't, well, I'm saying, I know, obviously it impacts the event, but if there's not adequate information tonight for them to make a informed decision about the health, welfare, and safety per the code, that's not their fault.
Yeah, if
The
you wanted
information's
to,
not there.
if you wanted to table it to potentially future dates so you can get more information, I think that would be a parliamentary appropriate action. That would not be a denial. The fact that it ends up messing with their dates, they're kind of their fault for making it late.
Holman is put what my thoughts are out more eloquently than I could because it's an emotional thing, but we were presented with information tonight that brings up concerns for health, safety, and this, that, and the other of the city, and I cannot, with that information, I need more than 48 hours to make a decision.
Plus you have nobody here from the circus.
Right, exactly.
And we've had 3 hours, less, since we've known their permit.
Right, yeah, since 4:30.
I certainly think that would be one action that you could take. Yeah, if you could, would I recommend rejecting it because it was untimely filed? No, because that's not one of the reasons in there. But if you wanted to table it to get more information because you have some concerns about the health, safety, and welfare that you want to dig into, I think that would be an acceptable course of action.
And what would be the recourse for the applicant? We table it. Obviously, they don't have a permit. They say, what the heck, we're going to go ahead and do it again. We've done it 5 years in the past, 6 years in the past, whatever, without a permit. What do they suffer as a result of doing that? I mean, what kind of fine or?
I'll answer your question in two ways. If they do it without a permit, Section 73799 does have a penalty, and it's a misdemeanor of the 3rd degree. So they would be in violation of our criminal violation. We could charge them or send the police out, shut them down. The flip side is if they wanted to object to your tabling of the measure because they feel like they could conceivably go to court, file an injunction, and say, hey, we got this time-sensitive thing, and they table this action. We want to force city council to do that. I don't think that would be successful, but we've had injunctions in other cases, and that's what you do to force somebody to do something. So that is a possibility, but if they just did it, they could get a misdemeanor charge.
All right.
And the other alternative, we can vote on it, and whoever wants to vote down can vote down, and who wants to vote yes can vote yes.
Yeah, there's going to be a vote one way or the other, so someone could make a motion to table it for a certain till next week, or someone could make a motion to vote on the question. Then it hangs there if no one seconds it. Yeah, you need to have a second to act on it.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution 1614.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Is there a motion about
Byline,
maybe?
is there a motion for anything
Sorry.
else? I think you're going.
I'll make a motion to deny permission for our circus pages to operate a circus due to a lack of timeliness for city council members to investigate safety issues that were brought forward regarding the circus.
So that's a denial, not a table. Is there
That's
a
fine.
second for that one?
I'll second that.
Okay, so the first by Mrs. Keller, a second by Mr. Jones. Any further discussion?
I just want.
I have a clarification.
Is the timeliness something you're comfortable with? Because before we act on that, I got the feeling you weren't comfortable with that, so.
What I would recommend, if you were going, first of all, if you're going to, if you want to deny it, you could just vote no on Councilman DeGenova's motion to approve it, and that would be fine. In terms of the basis, if you feel that there's a showing that proposed, it affirmatively has to appear that there are endangerment to the public health, property, safety, or welfare. So ideally, you would have heard the testimony, have real concerns that there's a showing that there could be a health, safety, and welfare. So it's less of I don't have time to investigate it. You really want to feel like there is. See the difference?
Okay, so can I withdraw my motion and make another motion?
Yes. Chris, do you want to withdraw yours also?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, I make a
Start over.
motion to deny permission for circus pages to operate a circus within the city of Delaware due to safety concerns. Is that okay?
I mean, that's a good motion. I don't have a decision at the moment on the vote, but yeah, that's a good motion.
I have a discussion.
Okay.
Is this in the county or in the city?
In the
If it's
city.
in the city, can the applicant then go to the county?
If the applicant had a place that was outside the city, yeah, they could go there. We have nothing to
Because
do
the
with that.
fairgrounds is in the fairgrounds is in the city, and so they can.
Can they just move the circus to another building then?
If they had a building that was suitable for the circus, yeah.
Yeah, we have,
But I don't think they do.
We as a fair board will probably look at this. There is no other building.
Darren, should it be clarified, safety as to what, or is it safety? I mean, safety could be safe.
it's the public peace, property, health, safety, or welfare of the city. So it's kind of like the same language from our emergency clause, to be honest. So you've made a motion in a second. You want to have some discussion, and this is where you can state your reasons and concerns and explain what you're potentially going to do, and then you can have a vote.
Any further?
I'd like to add, if we're going to deny it because of safety concerns, I think we need to stipulate that's because the only information we have is the testimony presented here tonight. In an ideal situation, we would entertain testimony from the applicant due to the lateness of the event. Because the problem is that then if we just simply deny it because circuses are unsafe, now we have to deny all circuses. So I think we need to be clear that we either need to table it or we need to deny it because we don't have any other information other than what we've been presenting.
I think, and Councilman Schaefer, I think you're actually correct. You have some testimony as a part of the petition from folks saying, here are what our safety concerns. There has been an opportunity for the other people to talk here and debate. You just haven't gotten any. So I don't think it necessarily setting precedent for all circuses. You have testimony. If you find that credible and you don't have testimony on the other side, I think you can go with what you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's my point too, is that we're not saying all circuses are inherently dangerous. We're saying in this particular case, the only information we have is the testimony presented here tonight.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I understand the concerns, but I don't think that there was testimony that showed that things were unsafe. I think there's safe concerns, that there was nothing there that I haven't heard anything that says this is unsafe. Personally, I would I would table this. I mean, that's really where I want to go with this.
Lisa, you want to leave your motion on the table, or would you like to table it?
I mean, tabling it does the same thing, so I'm open to, sure.
In that
I
case,
withdraw my motion.
there you go.
Chris?
Withdraw my second.
Okay, is there a motion to table this?
Motion to table resolution 1614.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Rohr, a second by Mr. Schaefer. Any further discussion? Roll call, please. No, not from you, from us. Keep your hands down.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. DeGenova?
No.
Mr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schaefer?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle?
Abstain, and I am abstaining because I'm on the fair board also.
So just to be clear with what we just did, we laid this on the table. At some point, we may want to pick it up off the table and finish the debate. So when we do so, we'll probably either put that on the agenda or you can pick it up at any time with a motion.
All right, thank
And to
you.
be clear, Circus Pages can come here and we can set an emergency meeting if we have to, but at this point, they haven't done anything.
Right. I think for all intents and purposes, I don't think the show is going to go on Wednesday at this point.
No,
They needed
Councilman-
legislative action from council. It's been tabled. There hasn't been enough time for them to come in and present, and therefore, I don't think there can be a show.
But
And that's-
Councilman Rohr is correct. In theory, you could call a special meeting on Wednesday morning
Well,
if you're going to do that.
Yeah, but after what we just have gone through,
I don't see it happening, but it technically
why are
could
we going to
happen.
do that? I mean, I understand it puts the fair board in an unfortunate situation. I understand that, but that's really not our, it's not our problem in a sense, unfortunately. So would you like, though, when you do bring it from the table, would you like representatives from Circus Pages to be here? To at least get a discussion? That's a perspective that you didn't have, and there is another side.
I think we also need time to Google and
Right.
get our own information.
Right. So we'll hold off until there's an appropriate time to put it back.
Okay. You need a break, I can tell by the way you're
No,
looking
I
at
was going
me.
to make the suggestion that we maybe postpone public hearings.
Yes, can we postpone the public training?
Absolutely.
We can, and while if you would indulge me for a second, I did speak to Councilman Rohr. His office in his day job does do public records training, and that's where I usually go to get my annual training, and that might be a possibility once we get a scheduled date where I and council can go to that, because I've been designated as council's representative delegate designee before, so we could possibly do that again. It's still fun to do it here, but we can also do that.
And I went just for the group's edification. I go to that every year because we put it on, but I also attend it. I never fill out the paperwork that I attended it because I'm not, as an attorney, I'm not required to, and I wasn't an elected official last year when I did it, but I can find out from the state auditor's office if I can get credit for it,
All right. Item 12 is financial report, finance director's report.
My report through February, the end of February, was included in your packets. Pretty early in the year to comment on much, but I would add that if you noticed, our income tax collections appear to be up 26.8%, but that's more a function of the state changing how income tax withholding is collected. In the past, our ordinance required if an employer had more than $1,000 a month, they had to withhold monthly, otherwise quarterly. With the changes that occurred at the state level, the numbers, I think, $100 a month. So there's a lot more employers that have to file monthly. So the money's coming in sooner, not necessarily more. It does create an added level of work because now we're handling a lot more monthly payments of withholding taxes. But hopefully by the end of April, I can take into account that issue and give you a little bit better idea of what our tax collections are doing. Entertain any questions you may have.
Have we gotten any money in from the JED?
From the JED, we have, and we have distributed some of those funds to the township, to the city associated with that.
Okay. The next finance meeting, we'll discuss that.
Any questions, Mr. Souter? Okay. Item 13 is the city manager's report.
Just a couple of items. We notified you about the Morpsey luncheon. If you can let us know by Thursday if you're interested in attending. And I know we've gotten some responses back, some who can't attend. If you have accepted, does that just let us know if that means you want us to get a ticket? Because we'll go ahead and do that. No work session for next Monday night, but there is a reception for the 3 finalists for the Parks and Natural Resources Director for, I was going to say position, here from 5:30 to 6:30. And that is it. Thank you.
Okay, city council comments, Mr. Jones?
Just to Vice Mayor Schaefer, are we scheduled for a parking safety in April?
Well, you know, I was looking over my calendar.
I get myself
And I can't
confused.
find it.
Okay, I thought we were scheduled for April,
I have
but.
one coming up.
Okay.
May 16th.
May 16th.
May 16th.
I had it down for April and, all right, that's all I had.
Okay, Mrs. Keller? I have none. Mr. DeGenova?
I have none.
Mr. Rohr?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Hellinger?
Just one question for Tom. Were you able to talk to Chief Donahue on the Lofton Circle?
Yes,
and
I did.
Brendan Loop?
I did. I spoke with him today. He was going to track down that information. I also mentioned it to Chief Pichanowski. Yeah.
All right.
What is that on?
Well, that's, if you look in Tom's report, they reported a structure fire on, I think.
Brendan Loop.
Brendan Loop. And Parking and Safety last year had a discussion on Lofton Circle about parking on both sides because of the ability to get emergency vehicles through, and wanted to know if those, because those roads are somewhat similar, I wanted to know if they had those issues, or any issues were experienced when they responded to that structure fire.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing? Okay. Well, I don't have anything either, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, did you want to adjourn or did you want to go back into executive
We'll
session?
adjourn into, we take a 5-minute break, and then we'll go into an executive session.
So you don't actually want to, you want to take a break? Okay.
Taking a break. You guys all get to go home. And I got 8:13.
Oh, yeah.
You know what, Carol? You have nothing to do.
Good job, Molly. Yeah, good job, Molly.
Yeah, that was good. Does she want to know when the houses come down?
Do you have like a card or something? Of course, my card. Yeah, but
Yeah, do you mind just?
I have all these cards in my wallet, and then there are all other people.
How much specific to the maybe there's got to be that's why I saw some cities do that. It's like your prices are different.
It's on them to know what the rules are of the cities that they're going to. Thank you.
reason I'm really sure.
Yeah, that flat set white. We'll let them know it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, no.
No, we don't mind at all. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, yeah, or between now and then.
No, but here's the thing. I didn't know to make
My table again.
We'll have to ask Yeah.
And they've had it since. That was a great question.
That's between.
Yeah, wait. You're Jordan.
Gary, how are you?
Your procrastination.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Failure to act in your process.
Emergency. Exactly
Doesn't do anything.
That's good. That's more than I had. Well, if they get it to you, just get it to call me out.
That's why we
Yeah, we have more things. Either say.
So if anybody brings it to you, please don't. Okay?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yes.
Well, they didn't want to listen to the poor people. They said that they didn't with the animals. They never seen any hardship.
Because they keep it alive, he said.
Yeah. Oh, well. I don't know.